Most men believe attraction is loud, obvious, and impossible to miss. But the truth is far more dangerous because when a woman is truly drawn to you, she rarely says it. She shows it in silence, in subtlety, in small behaviors that most men completely overlook. And by the time they realize it, the moment is already gone. There is something deeply misunderstood about attraction today. We've been taught to look for bold signals, dramatic confessions, or clear validation. But a woman who is genuinely interested in a man doesn't always operate in that obvious space, not because she's playing games, but because her nature is layered, emotional, observant, protective, and this is where most men fail, not because they lack value, but because they lack awareness. Let me tell you something important. Attraction is rarely about what is said. It's about what is felt and what is expressed without words. A woman who is trying to seduce a man doesn't always do it in a physical or aggressive way. In fact, the most powerful form of seduction is psychological. It's emotional, it's subtle, and if you're not paying attention, you will miss it completely. Think about this. Have you ever been in a conversation with a woman where she seems unusually engaged, not just listening but studying you? Her eyes don't wander. Her body leans slightly toward you. She laughs not because what you said was hilarious, but because she wants you to feel interesting. That's not coincidence, that's intention. Because when a woman is attracted to you, she invests attention in a way that feels almost invisible, but incredibly powerful. She becomes present in a way that others are not, and presence is one of the rarest currencies in today's world. But here's where it gets deeper. A woman doesn't seduce through desperation. She seduces through curiosity. She wants to understand you. She asks questions that seem casual, but they are not random. She's trying to figure out who you are beneath the surface. What drives you? What excites you? What kind of man you really are when no one is watching? And if she keeps coming back to those conversations, if she remembers the smallest details about you, that's not friendliness. That's emotional investment. Most men dismiss this. They think she's just being nice. No, she's choosing you. Because a woman's attention is selective, she doesn't give it freely to everyone in the same way. When she begins to focus on you, when she starts creating opportunities to talk, to connect, to be around you, that is not accidental. It is intentional seduction in its purest form, but seduction is not always about closeness. Sometimes it's about distance. There are moments when a woman will pull back slightly, not to reject you, but to observe you, to see if you notice her absence, to see if you value her presence. This push and pull, this rhythm, is not manipulation, it's emotional testing. She's asking, without words, do I matter to you? And how you respond in those moments defines everything. If you chase desperately, you lose your strength. If you ignore completely, you lose the connection. But if you remain grounded, calm, aware, you begin to understand the deeper language she is speaking. Because attraction is not built on words, it's built on energy. And when a woman is trying to seduce a man, she doesn't just show interest, she creates an emotional atmosphere. One where you feel slightly different around her, slightly more aware, slightly more alive. You might not even understand why. But you feel it, and that feeling is the beginning of everything. The truth is, the signs are always there. But they are quiet, they don't scream for attention. They whisper, and only the man who has trained himself to listen can hear them. And this is where your growth begins, because the goal is not just to notice when a woman is attracted to you. The real goal is to become the kind of man who naturally attracts that attention without forcing it, without chasing it, without losing himself in the process. Because when you understand these subtle signs, you stop guessing, you stop overthinking, and you start seeing reality for what it truly is. There is something even more powerful than attention, and most men completely overlook it. It's the way a woman changes around you, because when a woman is trying to seduce a man, she doesn't just give him time, she gives him a different version of herself. A softer tone, a more playful energy, a presence that feels warmer than it does with others. Watch carefully. With most people, she is neutral, balanced, predictable, but with you something shifts. Her voice might slow down. Her words become more thoughtful. She teases you not to insult you, but to create a connection that feels exclusive, like the two of you share a private world that others don't understand. That playfulness, that light teasing is not random. It's intimacy in disguise, because a woman doesn't play with a man she doesn't feel comfortable with. And she doesn't try to create emotional tension with someone she has no interest in. That subtle teasing, those small challenges she throws your way, they are her way of pulling you closer without making it obvious. And here's where it becomes even more interesting. A woman who is attracted to you will start to mirror you. Not consciously, not deliberately, but naturally. If you're calm, she becomes calmer. If you smile, she smiles back. If you speak with confidence, she listens more deeply. It's almost as if your energy begins to shape hers. And this is one of the clearest signs of attraction, because people mirror what they are drawn to. But most men miss this because they are too focused on themselves. Too busy trying to impress, to perform, to prove something, and in doing so they become blind. Let me tell you something that may change the way you see everything. A woman who wants you doesn't need to impress you. She needs to feel you, and when she does, her actions reveal it. She starts finding reasons to be near you, small, almost unnoticeable reasons, sitting closer than necessary, standing just within your space, creating moments where interaction feels natural, not forced, and when those moments happen, there's often a pause. A silence, but it's not an awkward silence. It's charged. It's the kind of silence where both people feel something, but neither one says it out loud. That silence is not emptiness. It's tension, and tension is the foundation of attraction. But here is where most men make a mistake. They rush to fill that silence. They talk too much. They break the moment because they feel uncomfortable sitting in it. But a man who understands stays present. He allows the moment to breathe because he knows that not everything needs to be said. Some things need to be felt, and when a woman senses that you are comfortable in that space, that you're not desperate to impress, not anxious to prove, her attraction deepens. Because now, she doesn't just feel drawn to you, she feels safe with you. And safety is one of the most seductive qualities a man can have. But don't confuse safety with weakness. A woman is not attracted to a man who is overly agreeable, overly available, or constantly seeking approval. That's not safety, that's insecurity. True safety comes from strength, from emotional control, from a man who knows who he is and doesn't need constant validation to prove it. And when a woman feels that, she relaxes, she opens up, she begins to reveal more of herself, not because she has to, but because she wants to, and that's when the dynamic shifts, because now she's not just observing you anymore. She's inviting you into her world. She might share personal stories, talk about her past, reveal things she doesn't usually tell others. And on the surface, it may seem like simple conversation, but it's not. It's trust, and trust is one of the deepest forms of attraction. Because a woman doesn't open up emotionally to a man she doesn't feel connected to, she doesn't reveal her vulnerabilities to someone she sees as just another face in the crowd. When she starts letting you see who she really is, that's not casual, that's intentional closeness. And here's the part most men never realize. When a woman is trying to seduce you, she's not just trying to get your attention. She's trying to feel chosen. She wants to know that out of all the options, all the distractions, all the noise, you see her. Not just physically, but emotionally. And when you do, when you truly see her without losing yourself, something powerful happens. The attraction becomes mutual, effortless, real, because now it's no longer a game of signals and signs. It becomes a connection. And that connection is what most people spend their entire lives searching for. And now we come to the part that most men are not prepared to understand because it requires emotional intelligence. Not just observation. When a woman is truly trying to seduce a man, she doesn't just move toward him. She watches how he responds. Every reaction you give, every word you choose, every moment you hesitate or stay grounded, she is reading it all. Not in a judgmental way, but in a deeply instinctive way. She is trying to understand one thing above everything else. Can this man handle me? Not control me, not impress me, but understand me without being overwhelmed. And this is where the dynamic becomes intense. Because a woman who is attracted to you will sometimes challenge you. She may disagree with you, question you, or even pull away slightly just to see how you react. Not because she wants conflict, but because she wants clarity. She wants to know if your confidence is real or if it's just a performance. You see, words are easy. Anyone can say the right thing. Anyone can act confident for a moment. But consistency, emotional stability, calmness under pressure, that is what reveals the truth. And a woman who is trying to seduce you will test that truth without ever announcing it. She might delay her replies. She might act slightly distant after a moment of closeness. She might observe how you behave when you don't get immediate validation. Do you become anxious? Do you start chasing? Do you lose your composure? Or do you remain centered, focused, unshaken? Because here's the reality most men don't want to hear. Attraction is not just about how much she likes you. It's about how you handle her liking you. If you become too eager, too available, too emotionally dependent, the attraction weakens. Not because you're a bad person, but because you've shifted the balance. You've gone from being a man she's curious about to a man who is seeking her approval. And the moment that shift happens, the dynamic changes. But a man who understands this moves differently. He doesn't rush, he doesn't panic, he doesn't try to force outcomes. He allows things to unfold naturally while staying grounded in his own identity. And that is rare, because most people are not used to someone who doesn't react emotionally to every small change. They are used to chaos, to inconsistency, to emotional highs and lows. So when they encounter calmness, stability, clarity, it stands out. And it becomes attractive. Now here is something even deeper. A woman who is trying to seduce you will begin to create emotional memories with you. Moments that feel meaningful, even if they seem small on the surface. A conversation that lingers in your mind. A look that feels intense, a shared laugh that feels more personal than usual. These are not accidents. They are emotional anchors, because attraction is not built in one big moment. It is built in many small moments that slowly connect over time. And when those moments are created intentionally, they become powerful. You start thinking about her more. Not because you're trying to, but because something about those interactions stays with you. That's not just attraction. That's emotional imprinting, and a woman who understands this doesn't need to chase you aggressively. She simply creates moments that make you come back mentally, emotionally, sometimes even physically. But here's where you must be careful. Not every sign of attention is genuine. Not every moment of connection is deep. And this is why awareness matters more than desire, because if you are only focused on what you feel, you can easily be misled. But if you observe patterns, consistency, intention, you begin to see the truth more clearly. A woman who is genuinely attracted to you will be consistent in her energy. Not perfect, not always available, but consistent in her interest, in her effort, in her presence, you won't feel confused all the time. You won't feel like you're constantly chasing clarity. There will be a sense of direction, even in the subtlety. And that's how you know it's real, because real attraction doesn't create constant doubt. It creates curiosity, excitement, and a quiet sense of understanding. And when you reach that point, something shifts within you. You stop trying to decode every small action. You stop overanalyzing every word. You start trusting what you see and what you feel, and that trust is what allows a connection to grow naturally. But remember this, the goal is not just to recognize when a woman is trying to seduce you. The goal is to become the kind of man who is not easily shaken by it. Because when you are grounded in yourself, when you understand your value, when you are not desperate for attention, you don't just notice attraction. You control how it affects you, and that is power, not power over her, but power over yourself. And that is the only kind of power that truly matters. And now we arrive at the truth that changes everything, the part most men never reach, because it requires not just awareness, but maturity. When a woman is trying to seduce you, the real question is not whether she likes you. The real question is what will you do with that knowledge? Because attraction by itself is not rare. It happens every day. People feel drawn to each other all the time. But what is rare is a man who knows how to handle attraction without losing his direction. You see, many men, the moment they sense interest, they change. Their priorities shift, their focus weakens, they start seeking more attention, more validation, more reassurance. And without realizing it, they slowly give away their power, not because the woman took it, but because they handed it over. And this is where everything falls apart. Because a woman may be drawn to you for your strength, your calmness, your independence, but if the moment she shows interest, you become different, you lose the very qualities that attracted her in the first place. This is why understanding these subtle signs is only half the journey. The other half is discipline. The discipline to remain yourself, even when emotions are involved. The discipline to not rush, even when the connection feels exciting. The discipline to not chase, even when the attention feels good. Because the truth is, attraction can be intoxicating. It can make you feel seen, valued, desired. And if you are not careful, you can become addicted to that feeling, instead of staying grounded in reality. But a man who truly understands separates emotion from identity. He allows himself to feel, but he doesn't allow those feelings to control him. And that is what makes him different. Now here is something most people won't tell you. A woman who is trying to seduce you is also observing one final thing: your standards. Not what you say they are, but what you tolerate. Do you accept inconsistency? Do you ignore red flags just because you feel attracted? Do you compromise your values just to maintain her interest? Because if you do, the dynamic shifts again. You stop being the man she respects and become the man she knows she can influence, and respect is the foundation of lasting attraction. Without it, everything else fades, but when you hold your standards calmly, confidently, without aggression, something powerful happens. She doesn't just feel attracted to you, she begins to respect you, and when attraction and respect come together, that is when a connection becomes meaningful. That is when it becomes real, because now it's not based on games or confusion or emotional highs. It's based on clarity, mutual understanding, and genuine interest. But let's go even deeper. There will be moments when you will misread signals. Moments when you think there is attraction, but there isn't. Moments when someone shows interest, but lacks intention. And that's okay, because growth doesn't come from always being right. It comes from learning, from observing, from refining your understanding over time. What matters is not perfection. What matters is awareness. Because the more aware you become, the less you rely on assumptions, and the more you rely on truth. And truth simplifies everything. You stop chasing people who are unsure. You stop investing in connections that lack depth. You stop confusing attention with intention. And in doing so, you protect your time, your energy, and your peace. And that is something no attraction should ever cost you. Because at the end of the day, the goal is not to be desired by everyone. The goal is to be valued by the right person, someone whose actions match their energy, someone who doesn't just show subtle signs, but eventually expresses clear intention. Because subtlety may begin attraction, but clarity sustains it. And if you remember nothing else from this, remember this one thing. A woman can show you signs, she can create moments, she can build emotional connection. But it is your responsibility to remain grounded enough to see it clearly, and strong enough to respond with intention, not emotion. Because when you master that balance, you don't just become attractive. You become unforgettable. And so, as we come to the end of this journey, understand this clearly: attraction was never meant to confuse you. It was never meant to make you overthink, doubt yourself, or lose your direction. The confusion only begins when you stop trusting what you see and start chasing what you feel. Because feelings, as powerful as they are, can sometimes mislead you, but patterns, consistency, energy, they always tell the truth. A woman who is trying to seduce you will show you, again and again, in ways that are quiet but meaningful, in her presence, in her curiosity, in the way she creates moments that stay with you long after they're gone. But your strength, your real power, lies in how you respond, not with desperation, not with ego, but with awareness. Because when you truly understand these subtle signs, you no longer need to guess, you no longer need to chase validation or question your worth. You begin to move with certainty, with calmness, with control over your own emotions, and that changes everything. You stop being the man who reacts to attention and become the man who chooses where to invest it. You stop being pulled into every moment of attraction and start creating meaningful connections that actually align with your values. Because in the end, this is not about women. This is about you, your discipline, your standards, your ability to stay grounded, even when emotions try to pull you away from who you are. Because the right connection will never require you to lose yourself. It will only require you to understand yourself better. So the next time you notice those subtle signs, the attention, the curiosity, the emotional pull, don't rush. Pause, observe, stay centered, and then choose your response wisely, because attraction may open the door, but it is your character that decides what happens next. And when a man reaches that level of awareness, he doesn't just experience attraction, he defines it,